on. So welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today with Connie Graf-Lewis, the decluttering expert, and my dear friend and colleague, Angela Crocker, who is the author of Declutter Your Data. We are talking decluttering and how it can make such a huge impact on your life. And both of these women have so much wisdom to offer. So we're thrilled. It's part of a decluttering challenge that Connie Graf and I are co-hosting. If you're watching this, you're either part of that challenge or you're interested in the challenge. So we're happy you're here. So I'm just going to start right off the top. So Connie, I'm going to start with Connie, and Connie's going to then introduce Angela. But Connie, so just start by telling us, like, what is it about decluttering that works this kind of magic in people's lives? Why is it important?
Yeah, most people don't understand how the clutter really weighs on them because they're just so used to it. They kind of block it out. There's scientific studies done that our brain is able to kind of block it out, but that doesn't mean it's not interfering with us. It's not bugging us in the unconscious. So when you actually start decluttering, you really physically feel a weight coming off your shoulder, and most people are very surprised about that. And so that's basically what I'm trying to teach people, that if you get some of the clutter gone, your life feels so much lighter and so much easier.
Yeah, great. Yeah. And that is, I mean, people tend to think of clutter mainly in the home or the office, the things that we see in our physical environment. But yeah. I'm very excited about this topic of digital.
Yeah.
Angela's book is called Declutter Your Data.
Can I show and tell?
Yes, please show and tell.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love this notion of when you talk about life being lighter and easier and simpler. And I know as a coach, I really am always working with people. How can they have more ease and joy and flow in their life? And that includes all aspects of our lives.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why I'm so excited that we have Angela Crocker here who wrote the book. She's really the expert on she's really the expert on digital clutter. And so I would like to hand it over to you, Angela, and tell us a little bit what exactly all is digital clutter.
Well, digital clutter is anything to do with your digital footprint. And by that, I mean any little piece of data that you have about yourself anywhere. The obvious things are, for people, usually the first things that come to mind are the email in their inbox and the email they have in many folders or their archive. Then the next thing that comes to mind is the many, many photographs that people have. When I started this project myself, I had 40,000 photographs of my then 10-year-old son.
Oh my gosh.
That's a lot. just of my son, let alone holiday photographs.
He's adorable. He's pretty. Yeah.
He is cute. He is cute. My husband and I are shutterbugs, but that's a lot of pictures.
Yeah,
but that digital footprint is much more than the really visible parts of your data. It's things like the loyalty programs that you join. It's your banking records, your medical records. It's the files that you keep. It's the number of places that you store things. You might have a hard drive on your computer, a mobile phone, a tablet, an account on iCloud, Google Play, Dropbox, Google Drive.
Even as you're speaking, Angela, I can kind of feel my body getting a little bit heavy.
Yeah.
Talking about the lightness, heaviness. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I've got that. I've got that too. I've got a train. You can hear.
Well, the train's just enhancing the digital that we're making right now.
Yeah. I can feel that what you're talking about, like there's just so much out there. I guess a question that popped to my mind as you were speaking is, what do you recommend? Like, are there like one or two, three things that, where we should even begin?
Absolutely. The book talks about a whole variety of strategies to deal with all kinds of clutter, and you have to pick and choose what clutter matters to you. For some people, as with possessions, they don't mind the clutter. Some people like a messy knitting basket. That's okay. Some people like a crazy train room. Crazy was my judgment call because there are a lot of trains in my house. But picking and choosing what you want to do. And the way I set up
like the same as you would do in your home. Like, what online do you really want to have there, or how do you function almost?
Yes.
In there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that there are some categories of digital clutter where it's easy to have a quick win, and some that are bigger projects that are kind of overwhelming to take on. So I thought for the folks watching this particular video that it might be helpful to share 3 areas where you can have some quick wins, and within a day or two you could move forward with your with your digital clutter and start to release some of that stress and tension that Vicky's experiencing, just as I talk about it, and Connie was talking about in terms of the physical possessions people have.
Yeah.
One of the first things to do is to really sit down and have a look at what your digital footprint is. There's a checklist in the book that people can use if they pick up a copy that helps think about what that involves. It could be mobile phones, it could be computers, it could be the dongles and cables, it could be the peripherals, the keyboards, the cameras, the lights, the tripods. There's so much.
I have those too.
Yes, yes. And it's,
who doesn't? Selfie sticks.
Selfie sticks, yeah. But once you've looked at what you've got, you start to realize where the data is hiding. So the first thing to do is actually to play hide and seek with your data. Go looking for it. Understand
so where like an assessment in a way, like of what, because even as you're saying, like I hadn't really thought of those things that you're saying, like tripods and cables and all that. I've got a lot of gadgets, as you know. But you know, it's thinking of it, the whole picture. Yeah, because when you say that was my question, is like what defines the data, the data footprint, and that's kind of what you're.
It's in two pieces. So there's the bits and bytes version, the electronic part that you can't see. It can be nice and tidy inside your laptop or the SD card on your camera. Then there's the physical objects that create the data, or that you use to interact with the data. Because sometimes people are passively consuming. Even your PVR on your computer, on your television rather, if you happen to have one.
Yeah.
I know for sure there are things in our PVR that go back at least 5 years. And you know,
are you really going to go watch those programs? Are you going to?
Exactly.
Like I keep the Leonard Cohen special just because I love Leonard Cohen so much. And I was looking last night at my list and my recordings, and I thought, you know, really, you know, I could delete that, but it's almost like a sentimental attachment because he's passed on, right? So,
yeah, but then who says you have to? Like decluttering, I always say, it's not the main thing. Is not to let go of things. It's actually to also recognize what you really love and what you really want to keep and use. And I mean, if you know you're going to watch it again, then there's no reason to delete it. That's my opinion.
It's like
I agree completely.
Pardon me?
I agree completely with what Connie's just said. We're very, very much kindred spirits on this front, Connie. I firmly believe that we should keep what we want, what makes us happy, what entertains us, what's interesting. I don't consider myself to be a minimalist. And minimalism and decluttering are often hand in hand. And I do think that we can share some common ground with minimalists. But I like my things. I have this huge roll-top desk behind me. It's a 3 foot by 5 foot footprint, and there's 37 drawers in it. It's things, but I enjoy them and I use them. And it's similarly with digital. If you want to use it, keep it, but allow yourself to let go of the things that maybe aren't so good. So let me get back to those tips you asked me to provide. So now we have a little bit more context. The first tip I'm going to give you is about photos and videos that you take with your mobile phone. And don't worry about the backlog. That's a whole big project that you will take once you've got some sense of digital decluttering under your belt. But what I want you to do moving forward from today is at the end of each day, take a few moments and review any photos or videos that you've taken. Now, if you've taken long videos, you don't have to watch them all. But what you want to do as you go through those photos and videos is just quickly assess whether you need to keep them. You know, are you an Instagrammer and you love to take photos of your lunch? Maybe you took 5 shots of your lunch. Do you need to keep all 5? If you do, that's fine. But odds are you took the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th shot because you didn't like the first one.
Right, yes.
So just simply by deleting a few photos each night that you don't need allows you to more easily find the ones that you do need. And at the same time, if you want to, you can favorite or tag those photos as you go along. iPhones, for example, do a facial recognition thing. So you can see if the photos of Vicky or Connie, for example, are in the Vicky and Connie folders. You can also like or heart or favorite, depending on your operating system, photos that you want to come back to. I use that feature for family photos. So when I'm having a bit of a down moment, I can go in and just browse my happy family photos, and it's a little pick me up. I know I'm not going to bump into a to-do from work or the photograph of the traffic fender bender that I witnessed, that I took a couple pictures, and those kinds of things.
But I like that because you're also, it's simple. I mean, most of us are on our phones at the end of the day, whatever time that is for us, you know, doing the last minute thing. So it's kind of adding that one more habit. And I know Connie talks about this, the importance of creating habits. And then you're also pointing a little bit, Angela, I think, to also using it in a way that makes you happier. So by creating those folders that are specific topic related, you kind of have created a little online space that gives you joy as well. You know, that's kind of partly my, you know, my perspective is how can we create more sort of everyday happiness.
And I talk in the book a little bit, the book wraps up, getting a little ahead of myself, but it wraps up talking about how to maintain your digitally decluttered state, because it's easy to get into a mess again once you've done it. And it's actually something that requires ongoing maintenance.
Yeah. It's the same with clutter clearing. Like, if just because you clutter cleared for a whole week straight doesn't mean your house never gets cluttered again. Like, if you don't keep up your habits and you don't keep it decluttered, it will get cluttered up again. That's just how it is.
Exactly. Yeah. I call it the quest for digital happiness. We're constantly trying to find somewhere on a pendulum between being digital and online and active with our technology, and analog, where we're offline and hands-on, whether that's art journaling or playing in the backyard with kids or going fishing or whatever your thing is. And sometimes we're almost always, really, we're in the middle of that arc between digital and analog. So a lot of what I'm advocating for in this is about finding your perfect combination for a digital life that integrates digital in ways that are going to make you happy, that are meaningful to you, that are productive for you, that help you do your job without the sense of overwhelm. So we talked about the photographs. There's another area where I would love to just touch base and provide a quick tip, which is around passwords. One of the biggest areas where people get into trouble is that they sign up for things online and they, oh yeah, sure, I'll use this password. And inevitably they forget. So every time they want to log back on, they've got to forget password, which means getting an email, which creates digital clutter, and then you've got to follow the link and reset the password. You know, and this is a very common story. So there's a couple ways that you can deal with it. One is to simplify your password protocol, and there's a technical way to do it and a between the ears way to do it. The technical way is to use a service like 1Password or LastPass. These are services where you can sign up and they will create encrypted passwords for everywhere that you log in, and you only have to remember one password to get into that service. If that sounds too techy, and I get a pushback on that a lot, it's like, oh, no, can't do it, and that's okay. The passwords that you do use, you may want to find a pattern. You would never, ever make the password the same for everything that you do online. It's just a security risk. As soon as one server is hacked and they pull a list, they immediately start testing it on other servers. So you want to have a different password everywhere you go. But you can have patterns. You can use particular numbers in particular sequences, or you can always capitalize the third letter of a special word that you put in the middle of the numbers. There's different ways that you can create a password so that at least when you sit down and you think, I have to log into my 500px account, which is a photo sharing community. I wonder if I think my password might be this, and you have a relatively good idea of what it would be, and with a little bit of variety. So passwords are a key thing, and it ties into a key piece of digital decluttering that most people are a little squeamish and uncomfortable about talking about, and that is end of life. I'm not afraid at all. I'm happy to talk about how we need to plan our digital legacy. Now, Vicki, I know in your book Untrending, you talk about digital legacy in the context of what are people going to remember about you and what are you saying to the world? And that is definitely part of it. Forever. My addition to your work, if you will, is to talk about how are people going to find your information? How is the executor of your estate going to access information? The legalities of it are hugely different all around the world. Often your executor can get in, but maybe they can't. Maybe they have the authority to act, maybe they don't. Maybe you're in Canada and you're accessing a service that's in the United States and the rules are different. This is an emerging area of law, and so part of what I want to encourage everyone to do, and this is another tip, is to really think about your digital footprint and who knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I unfortunately have experienced a couple of deaths in the family in the recent years, and it got us having a conversation one night, realizing that we are different kinds of geek. Well, we already knew that. You know, he's into IT and forums and all sorts of things. I do social media and online communities, and we have very different ways that we use technology. But if I needed to, I realized I couldn't get into our server.
Mm-hmm.
He's the IT guy in our house, and we delegate. You divide and conquer to get things done. If you run a business, who has access to the back end of your website? Who has access to the merchant shopping interface on your website?
Yeah.
Who has access to your email list management or customer relations management software? So as you're thinking about your digital footprint, really find some way to record what it is. And there are exercises in Declutter Your Data to help people explore that if they want to.
And that really good. I mean, it fits in really well with the other kind of decluttering information that's out there. You know, there's sort of the latest book that I've been reading is Swedish Death Cleaning, which is actually quite a funny book because it's written by a very elderly woman and her voice is quite strong in it. But just the idea that, you know, we are leaving this stuff behind, whether it's stuff or digital stuff, and also then the access thing I think is really critical. It's like, you know, knowing where your will is, or the safety deposit box, and that having the conversations might be uncomfortable, but they're really important. So just to sort of summarize for now, Angela, like I've heard, so you talked just about, first of all, kind of looking at our photos, and then really simple, easy. I love that kind of, I could just see myself like sitting on the couch with my iPhone at the end of the day, just doing that, at least, and starting where I am. Now, I love that little tip about we don't need to go back into the backlog yet. Certainly working through weekly challenges. People want to think, what could I do this week? That's really an easy one. And looking at the passwords and seeing if either you have a system that's technical or one where you've used a pattern, and then sharing that with a significant other or your executor or someone who has that authority in your life, because it may be needed later. Those alone, I think, would be really great places for people to get started. So is there, and is there anything else that you would think, like just thinking in terms of simple ways to get going?
I have one for anyone in the group that is a parent or a guardian or works with children and teens. I talk a little bit about digital parenting. Now, digital parenting is a huge topic. There's cyberbullying and all sorts of things. I'm not diving deep into those. But where I do dive deep is reminding people that you cannot be responsible for your children's digital creation. They're going to create what they want to create. Mm-hmm. However, you are responsible for their digital footprint. So it's a time to start coaching kids and teens, if they haven't already had some coaching at a younger age, on how to be online, how to be mindful of their personal information. And this can often evolve into a family contract. We've actually had a family contract around internet use since my son was 4 years old. And we update it every year, so it's age appropriate. The language is kind of funny now to look back on, because some of these very early terms are in language that a 4-year-old, we would allow him to articulate that. And very basic, keeping safe things about not sharing your full name, not telling people where you live, not talking to strangers online. And that later evolved to, if you're talking with strangers online, these are the things to look for so that you stay safe. Because we have to teach. This next generation has no experience of life without technology and digital connection. And so if we don't give them the life skills to be strong digital citizens, responsible people who are using technology in ways that supports what we've been talking about, a happy life, a balance between analog and digital, decluttered, stress-free, all of those things, just like we have to teach them how to look both ways before they cross the street, we've got to teach them how to walk around the internet. So,
how to make powerful choices for themselves in all aspects of their life, including the digital arena. Which just reminds me, I just wanted to also add here, I know that you have a podcast as well that you host called It's a Digital Life with your son, Sean.
I do, yes.
So that's another great resource just in general for people, and I'm sure you'll touch on the topics in your books as well. Also to mention, you also have a book called The Content Planner that was published. It's an earlier book to declutter your data, and a couple of other ones as well. I know the Content Planner is in great use across Canada. really encourage people to use it. And we're thinking it through the lens of decluttering, because it's about doing your content planning in a way that's efficient and effective, and that helps you to save time, and of course then creates more space, ease, and flow in your life.
Yeah.
So I did want to just shout out, and I thank you also for my shout out for my book on trending as well. I appreciate that. It kind of the philosophical foundation for how to use social media and digital, which I think also helps us make those choices. What do I love? What don't I love? So I was just going to ask Connie, just to kind of circle back around. I think we're just about out of time.
Yeah.
I just read this sort of notion about choosing what you love. I know that we've been sending out material. When we do these challenges, we send things out to people. And one of the things that you talk about a lot, and some of the things I've seen you send, is really about appreciation.
Yeah.
So I just thought that might be a nice place to have you chime in, and then maybe Angela, you can let us know how we can find your book, how we can get a hold of you further, and if there's any final tips you want to offer.
Yeah, well, so the appreciation, I think this is a big thing. And the more clutter you have, the less you actually can see the things that you appreciate, whether it's physical clutter or digital clutter. So isn't that the goal? Like, you're keeping things because they make you feel good. But then if they're buried underneath all kinds of irrelevant stuff, or irrelevant digital files or photos that are blurry or you don't really care for, then it's hard to appreciate them. It's more stressful because you have to weed through the stuff to get to them. So yeah, you start where you actually love the stuff, what you appreciate, what you love, and then you weed out or let go whatever is not in that category, that is not what you love. So yeah, I think most people always start decluttering. They just think about what they have to let go. They don't think of what they want to keep and what is important to them. And I always say that is the part that should be in the middle. That's the core, what you love, and then the rest we can let go. And it's easier to let go of the rest if you know what you love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. I think so. I think it's such a strong principle, and it underlies the work of both of you, which I so appreciate so much in both of your work. That very conscious saying of, we get to keep what we love.
Yeah,
we need to name it.
Yeah. I like the way Francine J puts it. She wrote a book called The Joy of Less, and she talks about it not about getting rid of everything, but about creating space. Mm-hmm. So by removing that object or that digital piece of information, you create space for something else to emerge. Yeah. And that sense of openness, that sense of space, it produces the stress. It creates room for self-care. It creates a sense of calm. There's so much good. And I love the fact that this challenge is called From Chaos to Peace. And your work, Connie, is really based on that phrase. I talk about chaos to calm or chaos to serene, and all three phrases sort of embody this very, very sense that we're talking about.
It's such a big contribution, I think, to it's a positive action that you can take that has a big impact in your life, and as a result will have a big impact in the lives of the people you love and the people around us. So Angela, tell us how we can find you. How can we find your book? Your podcast. More Angela, please. We're going to do less of some things, but more of Angela.
Well, I would be honored. For those that want to connect and learn more about digital decluttering and content planning and online communities and all those sort of things that I do, visit me at angelacrocker.com. There's actually a page devoted to declutter your data. So if you go to angelacrocker.com/declutter your data, you'll find more information about the book, details on how to buy it if you'd like to purchase a copy. It's available pretty much all over the world, which is really exciting to have readers in so many places.
Yeah.
That same website will also give you links to my social media channels. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever works for you and your digital footprint. You're welcome to connect with me there. And if you want to, and you'd like to connect in just a quick way, please do. Share pictures or post something that you're interested in around this topic, and use the hashtag Declutter Your Data. I'm monitoring that, and really looking forward to having lots of conversations with people in the social media spaces around that. So,
lovely. Yeah, thanks
Wonderful.
for that. It's so important to share our successes, right? We'd love to hear from people what's working for you, particularly around this topic of decluttering your digital data, but anything that you're doing in your lives where you're really beginning to experience success and joy. Just thank you both so much. Connie, you're at conniegraph.com. I'm vickymcleod.com. AngelaCrocker.com. This is the digital world we live in. We all have our .coms. But please, we're just really excited. Thank you so much, Angela, for playing in with us.
Yeah,
Connie,
thank you so much.
Inspiration ongoing in decluttering.
Thank you both for organizing this. I'm participating in the challenge and tackling some parts of my house in the physical sense. So I appreciate your wisdom to help me along the way there. And I really do appreciate being included in the conversation. So thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you, everybody, for listening. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.